Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good wherever you are. It is Sunday morning, and this is Sunday streaming. I hope everybody's doing well this Sunday morning. Kind of recovering from the turkey hangover, all that good stuff. So, I am here to take your questions today regarding comics, regarding all that good stuff, omnibuses, all things geeky, and all that. How is everybody's Sunday? Just wondering. I'm really curious what you guys picked up during Black Friday, if anybody went out shopping or anything like that. Wanted to thank you right off the bat for Scout. Awesome. Man, I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. How badass is that, right? How great is that series? Have you finished it yet? That's what I'm curious about. If you finished it, let me know because the ending is incredible. It's one of the best things I've ever read. It's like right up there with Y the Last Man and Sandman in terms of ending. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, a lot of people picked up a lot of digital comics on Black Friday. Hi, Luke. Hi, Luke. Yeah, a lot of digital comics on Black Friday. My local shops here really didn't have that great of a deal. They had, though, buy two, get the third one free on pretty much any trade paperbacks and hardcovers in the store. So I picked up 3 volumes of Tokyo Ghoul, and I was like, yeah, I can't get enough of that series right now. It's so good. Yeah, I bought a lot of stuff also. It was weird because it seemed like if you were in the omnibus group, a lot of people were posting up a lot of really rare and good stuff over the past few days. And I think it's because people were trying to get ready for the holiday season, selling off some extra things. Like this past week, I saw 2 Thor Walter Simonson omnibuses listed in the group. And I was able to actually snatch one for a really good price. Yeah, it really is, and that's part of the reason why I don't really shop at local comic shops anymore, other than like the occasional, huge sale like they did this weekend. Because in stock trades, sad as it is, tends to beat their prices. 50% off. Why am I going to go somewhere when? And I'm not dogging the local comic shops. I think guys should all support them. Buy your singles and things like that. But for me, when I can get trades and hardcovers for 50% off, I don't really stop in local comic shops that much anymore. Yeah, you would think Cyber Monday would be the big sale for digital comics, but I don't think it is. Yeah, I got man, my list because I went on cheap graphic novels. My list is absolutely ridiculous. What I got from cheap graphic novels this past week because they had a pretty good sale going on. There was a lot of good stuff in there, including the Clone Saga omnibus. I didn't pick it up because I think it's garbage, but I was still really freaking tempted to get it. Let's see. Let me go back in and let me take a look at what my list is. La 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 la. I've got my list here. Favorite comic book writer? Oh man, I get this one a lot. It's difficult because there are a lot of great writers out there, but it would probably be up there with, and it's hard. Mike Mignola and Darwin Cook are probably my 2 favorite authors. Okay, so this is what I picked up for Black Friday. Garth Ennis is up there as well. Yeah, Clone Saga is really that book that I think that if you are a hardcore Spider-Man completionist, that Black Friday sale for like $50 of the Clone Saga Omnibus, which was like 60% off, was an amazing deal. And I know a lot of people jumped on it for that price. Me, no, I wasn't going to jump on it. Okay, so this is what I picked up. I'm actually filling in a lot of holes in my collection. Avengers and X-Men Axis hardcover, Avengers Rage of Ultron, The Feathers hardcover, Hulk Huck, Volume 1 trade paperback, Nailbiter hardcover. By the way, Nailbiter hardcover, if you guys did not jump on it, that was a hell of a deal. The oversized deluxe hardcover edition of Nailbiter was $13, $14 on cheap graphic novels this past week. An amazing deal. I was so happy I got that. Punisher Max Complete Collection, Volume 3, Sweet Tooth Deluxe Editions, Volumes 1 through 3. So I have now the entire Sweet Tooth set. The Thor by Jason Aaron and Russell Duderman Deluxe Edition Volume 1 hardcover. That was $14. Uncanny Avengers Volume 1. Great deals, man. Like I said, I was plugging in a lot of collections, and I actually had to cut off because what I did was I filled my entire shopping cart, and then I went back. I went through the whole catalog, and I was like, okay, what can I cut out? And I cut out like about $200 worth of content. I was like, yeah, I cannot spend $300 worth of content this week. It's ridiculous. At what age would you suggest someone read Sweet Tooth? Sweet Tooth isn't an all ages book, man. Sweet Tooth is something you probably would give somebody that's like 17, 18, kind of on the cusp of maturity that they can handle like rated R and rated MA stuff. Because there's a lot of really dark shit in Sweet Tooth. As great of a series as it is, there are some moments in Sweet Tooth that get really, really dark. And Sweet Tooth happens to be one of my favorite series, probably in my top 10 favorite series of all time. Not my top 5, but in my top 10 it would make it. Is there good comics like Y the Last Man or DMZ? I like post-apocalyptic stories. There's, of course, Walking Dead. There's a little-known indie series that's really good that's called Wasteland. I recommend you check that out. It's kind of Mad Max, if you're into that type of stuff. It's a really great series, and they have these beautiful little deluxe editions that I've always wanted to get. I have not gotten them, though. But I do recommend you check those out. Beautiful stuff. Best Flash, man. There's been so many great Flash runs. I mean, you're talking about the Mark Wades, the Jeff Johns. I am a fan of Jeff Johns' Wally West simply because that was really my first interpretation of the Flash. That was really what got me into the character. So, what did you guys pick up on Black Friday? Anything good aside from like digital comics? My favorite Marvel comic right now, it's a toss-up between. Right at the moment, it's a toss-up between Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, and Thor by Jason Aaron. It's really hard. Sweet Tooth is, yeah, Sweet Tooth has a really great epilogue. It's a bit rushed. That's the only complaint that I have, is that you could tell maybe Jeff Lemire wanted to go a little bit longer, but maybe the sales weren't that great. But it does feel like the ending was a bit truncated. It could have gone a little bit longer, and I would have liked it. What do I have problems with Brian Wood? I'm not gonna get into it here. I really never do. Just I always tell people the same thing. If you want to know why I have problems with Brian Wood, why don't you look up Brian Wood controversy, and a quick Google search will tell you why I have problems with him. Plus, I've had friends that have gone up to him at cons and they say he's kind of a bit of an ass to them. So that's part of the reason why I won't support his work and I won't do reviews or I won't read or purchase anything on this channel. You got all the East of West digital volumes to get current. Wow, that's a lot of East of West. You got all of it for $3.99. $3.99 a pop. Wow, really good deal, man. My favorite Marvel story of all time. Marvel's had so many great runs. Ooh, Brian Michael Bendis' Daredevil run when he gets outed is really good, but I would say probably Punisher Max the Slavers is my favorite Marvel story of all time. And that's Garth Ennis, for those of you who have never read. I've touted the Slavers like 1,000 times on this channel, and I'm sure a lot of people here that are here are like, yeah, we're tired of hearing him like wax on about the Slavers so much. But it really is the best Punisher story that I think I've ever read. And one of the best Marvel story I think I've ever read. It's incredibly brilliant. Most overrated comic book. Anything by Chris Ware. I'm sorry, I just don't see the appeal. Jimmy Corrigan, building stories, all those stories that, like, a high-minded comic book reviewers, like people in the Wall Street Journal and stuff that they praise, I find all that stuff incredibly dull and incredibly boring. It's just not my cup of tea. I respect the man as a draftsman, but God, all that stuff is just so fucking boring to me. I just cannot find the appeal in any of it. Like, I read comics to escape the doldrums of everyday life and to, get an emotion or experience things. And it's nothing about books that are dull or boring or, they deal topics with depression. There's nothing with that stuff. But that's Jimmy Corrigan and Chris Ware's material just dulls the hell out of me. I just cannot stand it. Can you recommend where to start reading Iron Man? The only comic I've read involving him is Civil War, and just what I've seen in the movie. Warren Ellis's Extremis Iron Man. It's like 6, 7 issues. It's a really nice little hardcover package. You don't need to know anything else. It's a really good read. Brian Michael Bendis' Iron Man. I haven't read it, but I've heard really good things of it lately. I've heard he's been really doing well with it, and I want to sit down and read it. They're starting a new Iron Man series with Riri Williams pretty soon that I think would be awesome. I think would be really cool. I think it's going to be really good from what I've heard. Have you played the Batman Telltale series? I'm really liking it. I have not. In fact, I have not played the Batman Telltale series. I've been wanting to. I've been actually playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I'm going to jump on Overwatch later tonight after I get all the work that I have to get done. I just finished Hickman's FF. Where should I go next as far as FF goes? Here's the thing. Hickman, hands down, has written probably the best run on FF, arguably the best run on FF since the Jack Kirby and Stan Lee days. Now, there are your classic runs like John Byrne, Mark Waid, and, classic Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. But if you want to keep going with it and you want to keep going with the same themes, I recommend you pick up Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers because Reed Richards, specifically New Avengers, because Reed Richards plays a huge part, and in a lot of ways what Hickman sets up in FF plays out later on in his Avengers and New Avengers run. So if you want to do that, if you want to keep going with Hickman and you're really enjoying the high of his FF, then you're probably going to want to pick up his New Avengers, which is really good too. Has your opinion of a collection ever changed, good or bad, on something after reading it a second time? Yes, in fact, it happens a few times. Last week, I mentioned it that I gave a reread to the Darth Vader hardcover that I had that I traded off, and I borrowed it from a friend of mine. And I reread it because I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a second shot. I reread it, and I was like, wow, this is a lot better once you reread it and once you have the context and once you know what's going to happen. It definitely reads a lot better in that sense, in my opinion. Also, Hellboy. Hellboy, I've gone on record as saying, when I first started Hellboy, I did not like Hellboy. I didn't like the short story format. I wasn't a fan of it because I was expecting what was in the movies. I went back and reread everything involving Hellboy, and I love Hellboy. Honestly, Hellboy is one of those books that once a year I go back and reread the main Hellboy chunk of like the library editions. I go back every once in a year and I just reread it all because I love that universe and I want to get more of it. What's your assessment on total number of comic series being put out these days versus 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Is it all like TV music where you simply can't follow it all? And implications. Marvel to me is the biggest one that's doing this, and it's kind of a pain in the ass because it's great that it's interesting because they don't no comic book series anymore is making it past the 100 issue mark, the 50 issue mark. It seems like we're getting shorter and shorter series, especially now with Marvel, who for some reason they can't go 20 issues without deciding to reboot the series, and it's a pain in the ass. It's good and bad. It's good because it provides a lot of people to jump on a series. It's bad because when somebody's trying to read Thor, like the Jason Aaron Thor run, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I read this. Thor, God of Thunder, awesome. Then they jump into, oh, shit, what comes next? There's like 3 different Thor titles with similar names, and they're all female Thor. What the hell is going on? Ant-Man's a great example of this. You have Ant-Man, and then you have the new #1 issue of Ant-Man, which is titled similarly. Somebody that is new that is going into the comic shop, they're going to get lost in that. Hell, I get lost trying to organize all that shit. Thoughts on Aaron Star Wars run? I have not read it. And not only that, I really do miss, honestly, I do miss long-form storytelling. I miss being able to sit down and go, oh, awesome, this is a 60-issue series. There is a beginning, middle, and end. It's not like it is today where it's like, oh, well, it's only 24 issues. And yes, there is a beginning, middle, and end, but sometimes it feels like the stories are a bit truncated when they could go longer. And sometimes it feels like the stories, they will go on too long. My feeling on it is that I really do miss the long form storytelling, and I miss the long continuity, because there's nothing like you've been reading and you've been reading a comic book for 100 issues, and you finally get that 100 issue mark. You feel like you've gone through a journey with a character, versus like, oh great, 20 issues, oh they're restarting it again. But I'm an old fogey like that. Do you think we have a chance for an Alan Moore Swamp Thing Absolute or large format in the future? That is up in the air. A few months ago, I would have said yes, because we were getting the Bronze Age Swamp Thing. However, now we don't know if it's been canceled or if it's been pushed back or anything like that, but it seems like the Bronze Age Swamp Thing omnibus is canceled. That's what it seems like right now, or it could just be pushed back. We don't know exactly what's going on. But if it is canceled, chances of getting an absolute or an omnibus edition of Alan Moore Swamp Thing might be a bit slimmer, which is a damn shame, because that content is brilliant. I'm getting an indie. I bought Y the Last Man and currently reading it. What series should I get next? That depends. Are you sensitive to religious topics? Are you sensitive to politics? Are you sensitive? I need a little bit more information for me to answer that question for you, because if you like Y the Last Man, then I would recommend you pick up Transmetropolitan. My favorite indie series of all time, and my favorite series of all time, is Preacher. Preacher is not for everybody. Preacher is really fucked up. So if you don't mind religious topics, and if you are in some way, shape, or form, atheist, or if you're kind of on the spectrum of like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I don't get offended by things that easily, then I'd recommend you pick up Preacher. If I had one comic in my whole life, which would it be? Preacher. What do you think about Fables? Fables is good. Fables is really good, though it does drop off after about the 75th issue mark, somewhere along there. After they deal with the main antagonist and they try to introduce this second antagonist, I think the series just takes a real steep dive. Although I have heard that in the last few issues of the series, it picked up and it got really good again. I'm good with politics, staying out of Spider-Man under Dan Slott. A lot of people aren't picking up Spider-Man with Dan Slott. I think Dan Slott's just been on the book way too long. I think his time has come to kind of get off the book, and it needs new blood. It needs a fresh perspective, and it needs a new take. There are so many great writers out there that could do a great job with Spider-Man. And I'm not saying anything bad about Dan Slott. I just think it's time for him to move on. It's time for him to find greener pastures. He's been writing Spider-Man for like what, 6 years at this point. It's ridiculous. It's time for him to move on. Have I seen Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? I did, and honestly loved it. It was very inventing and interesting, in my honest opinion. I wanted to see Fantastic Beasts. I have not seen it yet. I'm really behind on movies. I need to go see Arrival and all this other stuff. But the thing is, we got Christmas coming up, and that means a lot of spending money. Let's see. Where was it? There was a really good question back here. La 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 la. Okay. What's my assessment on the total number? Okay, I already answered that. Doesn't splintering off all the series from current times make omnibus editions of the future really goofy, and thus making omnibus editions from these days less common and less desirable? Yeah, we are seeing less omnibus editions from current runs. We are getting Hickman's Avengers run, though, in omnibus format next year. We know that for a fact. But it seems like Marvel is more interested in collecting really classic stuff and really, really great stuff from like the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. It seems like they're focusing more on that right now. Do I think it makes it less desirable? No, because they could still collect books by author. They could collect things like, okay, one day they decide, we're going to do a Thor omnibus by Jason Aaron, which it's going to happen. It has to happen. They're just waiting for that to finish up. They're just going to call it the Thor by Jason Aaron omnibus, and it'll just be a nice little collection of everything, including female Thor, his Thor, God of Thunder, God Butcher, all that stuff is just going to be in a nice little package. Not a question, just a little thing. I'm a devout Catholic, but I was not offended by Preacher. You have to read it with a different mindset, like you would read the Communist Manifesto today. Very good examination. Thank you. It's important that you're open-minded to these types of things and not so closed-minded. Like I read Preacher when I was a devout, a hardcore Christian. I read it when I was into the faith a lot. And now I'm not so much. I was not offended by Preacher, but then again, I've always had an open mind. You bought the Walter Simonson Thor omnibus. Very good, sir. Bravo. I'm assuming you were one of the ones that got it on the omnibus group because there were two posted this past week, and I got one of them, and I'm assuming you got the other one. But yeah, Thor about Walter Simonson is brilliant stuff. It's very much a lot of Thor runs today borrow from that run. You're getting a lot of classic material in there. You're getting Frog Thor. You're getting the introduction of Beta Ray Bill. Thor by Walter Simonson is brilliant, and you have a hell of a run to go through, and you're going to really enjoy it. Oh, you were the one that beat me out by a few minutes. Oh my God. I say this lovingly, Abby. I say this lovingly when I say it, but you bastard, you beat me out for that Thor omnibus by like 2 minutes. Because I messaged him and I was like, I missed it. It's cool though, because somebody else sold me another one. I found another one in the group this past week for like $100. Beta Red Bill does need more love. He really does. I love Beta Red Bill. Will there be any Captain America Brubaker volumes out anytime soon? No, not that we know. And we've got solicitations pretty much until May of next year, if I'm not mistaken. May or June. We've got solicitations of what we're getting omnibus-wise up until about halfway point of next year. Now, what happens after that, we don't know. I'm really hoping they decide to reprint Brubaker's Captain America stuff in Ultimate Collections or whatever, in whatever format, because it really does deserve it. Is it worth reading the entire run of Green Arrow New 52? Hell no. 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 No, 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 no. You stay away from that shit and you avoid it like the plague. You just need to read Jeff Lemire's run. Yeah, Jeff Lemire's run is absolutely the best. You want to stay the fuck away from whatever the fuck they were doing in the beginning of the New 52 with Green Arrow. The beginning of New 52 with Green Arrow was garbage. It was a human cesspool of feces. It was terrible. Pick up Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow collection. There's a hardcover edition of it, which I really want to pick up. And it was fantastic. Beautiful art, great story, great stuff, man. Is there really a Marvel formula, or is it myth? There seems to have different movie styles, like team up. There is a Marvel formula. Yeah, Marvel definitely has a winning formula, but I think the audience is starting to the general movie-going audience is starting to catch onto it, and they're starting to wise up to the Marvel formula, and they're starting to get a bit tired of it. More specifically in Doctor Strange, where, oh great, there's a swirling vortex in the sky. Geez, oh, they're gonna fight it again, and here we go again. There's something in the clouds. But what Doctor Strange did was that it was very aware that there is a Marvel formula and fans are getting tired of it. So they decided to tweak it and change it enough where it was like, oh, okay, well, this is a little bit more creative than normal. Doctor Strange isn't fist fighting his way out of it. But there definitely is a Marvel formula. Only issue 1 of DMC is hard to find as a hardcover, at least in Europe. Yeah, some of those DMZ hardcovers are really hard to find. The problem with Preacher is that most of the jokes are religion related. So if you don't find them funny, you'll be more annoyed than entertained. Yeah, yeah, and Preacher, like I've said, it's very offensive. Preacher doesn't hold punches. Have I read Stephen King's The Dark Tower comics? I have not. I have not read Stephen King's Dark Tower comics, unfortunately. Unfortunately. I want to go back and read them, but I know it kind of fills in the blanks between the books, and they're kind of companion pieces between the books, and they do a lot better if you've read the books, and I've only read the first book, so it's like, oh, okay. You know, I haven't gone back and read them. I know the omnibus editions, which are gorgeous. They look beautiful. They are readily available. What is currently my biggest whale? You know, I don't really have one. I really don't really have a big whale right now because I had given, honestly, I gave up on getting the Fantastic Four Hickman omnibus. So I ended up buying the trades. Somebody gave me a super sweet deal, probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago for like $50. I was like, fuck yeah, you know? No, it was like 75 bucks, but I was like, fuck yeah, you know? I ended up buying that and I was like, there it is. That's pretty much all I need. There are really no whales as far as I wanted. The other one was the Walter Simonson omnibus, and I ended up getting that. But like whales, it was Annihilation, it was Walter Simonson's Thor, and it was Hickman's Fantastic Four. But now I have all of them. Within the span of like 3 months, I got everything I wanted. So it's kind of an interesting feeling once you have all the whales you have, and you're like, oh shit, there's kind of a hole in my heart now. Hmm. It's really interesting. Plus, my back catalog is like massive. It's insanely massive to the point where I don't even know what to do with myself. I have so much to read, which is really, it's really a first world problem when you think about it. I have a question for you guys. Actually, I want to take a small sample poll. Um, how would you feel if I start doing my videos from this angle? From, okay, if you guys have noticed, like the Manga Monday videos where I'm not in front of the bookcase, I'm sitting like right there, and the camera tends to breathe a little bit more. What do you guys feel about that? Do you like that better? Do you like me in front of the bookcase? Because honestly, this is a lot easier for me. That way I don't have to drag out the futon in front of the camera, in front of the bookcase, and then I have to set everything up. It's just a lot easier for me to do things here. Do you prefer it this way, or do you prefer me in front of the couch? Like the video that I have Manga Mondays where obviously the camera's in a better position. I'm curious about that. What types of comics do I like? Man, that is a very broad question. That is an insanely broad question for me. Because I pretty much read everything. From comics that are dedicated to kids to horror to manga. I don't have really a preference. It's, if it's good, I read it. I think it's important to be open-minded with that stuff. I have a friend in a comic boat who is a hardcore Christian. He is open-minded, but also, to be fair, many seemingly spiritual, topically with a slant of God books rarely bash the goddamn. Thoughts on Brubaker's Gotham Central? Really brilliant stuff. If you have seen the Gotham TV show and you thought it was okay and you like the premise, Brubaker's something there. Brubaker's Gotham Central is absolutely essential and brilliant. It's a fun read all the way through. And manga, do you like omnibuses 2-in-1 or trade paper? 2-in-1, obviously. If I get more manga for my buck, why not? You know? Always good stuff. You're one of the best reviewers. You do not spoil the book. Thanks, man. Hey, of course. Awesome, man. That's great. And if you want to help me out, you know, and you don't want to pay Patreon, that's perfectly fine. What you can do is hit the like button and share. Share my videos. You know, reach out to a bigger audience. If you don't want to put Patreon, that's perfectly fine. Just reach out and share a video, hit a like button. Okay, for those of you that are wondering, I am working on getting us on iTunes. The Omni Bros Live, because I've gotten a lot of people saying, why don't you put it on iTunes? When can we put it on iTunes? I just haven't figured out how to do it yet, and I've been so hectic. But I plan to put it up on iTunes. I promise. It'll go up soon, sometime. Fan of collection videos. You ever consider doing one? I was toying with the idea a few days ago of doing one simply because a lot of the stuff that I sold off, my collection's a lot smaller than what it used to be, but a lot of the stuff that I've sold off, I've gotten a lot of it back through being more financially aware, more responsible, and all that stuff. SoundCloud, yeah, we're thinking about SoundCloud also. I am a dark, gritty, and logical reader. What would you recommend? Let me think. Criminal is really good by Ed Brubaker. If you're into crime stories, I just finished Fatale. That was really good. Let me think. If you're into really dark, gritty stuff, Punisher Max by Garth Ennis is about as dark, gritty, and fucked up as you can get in the Marvel. And Punisher Max isn't even in the Marvel universe per se, but Punisher Max is great if you're looking for something like that. Nailbiter, yeah, Nailbiter is really good. Nailbiter is very good. I recommend Nailbiter. How often do you see BPRD Plague of Frogs hardcovers in the omnibus page? I really need them. I saw them like twice this past week. People have been getting rid of them. This past week, I swear to you, I saw them about twice go up, and they were gone within like 2 minutes. Stuff like that, man. Your Annihilations, your Hickman Fantastic Fours, all that stuff that tends to fly quick. So, like I say, if you are in the omnibus group, best advice that I can give you is have your money ready and refresh the page probably every 30 minutes to an hour to see what's on sale. Because that's typically what I do. That's when I was looking for my stuff, and when I was looking for my whales, now not so much, but when I was looking for them, I would refresh the omnibus group like every 30 minutes, and I've come across some really great deals on there. So always have comic book money on the ready. Have something on the side where you can just go, oh shit, that's on sale. That's awesome. At least a good $200, $300 in PayPal. Always ready. Is Ronin by Frank Miller any good? I have not read Ronin. Man, what is with Monstrous? Everybody's recommending Monstrous. Okay, I'm going to have to order the trade of Monstrous because everybody's saying Monstrous is incredible. You have to sit down and you have to read Monstrous. I haven't sat down with it. I plan to, guys. I really do. And I plan to give you like an impression on it. Everybody's saying it's incredible. That you have to read it. I will read it. The trade's only like $5. It's really nothing. It's not that expensive. I can get the Thor Simonson for retail. Should I get it or the trade paperbacks cheaper? If you can get the Thor Simonson for retail, it is a really fucking good deal. That is a very good deal. However, I'm going to warn you right now, it is a bit unwieldy. The damn thing is huge as hell, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to read. So you're going to probably need like a good place to rest it on. However, if you just want to get the story and you don't want to have the art that's recolored in a nice oversized package, get the trades, man. It's easier to read that way. I'm a sucker for omnibuses, and I'm a sucker for that run. So I'm like, yeah, I will definitely buy the omnibus. Do I like newspaper comics? Yes. Yeah. I grew up reading the Boondocks, Calvin and Hobbes. Man, so many newspaper comics. Garfield. Those things will always Peanuts. Those things will always have a special place in my heart, no matter what. Newspaper comics will always be somewhere here because that's where I got my start. My father would buy the Sunday paper, and he would hand me the comic section every single Sunday, and I would sit down and I would read it, and I would reread it and reread it and reread it. I would just read the comic strips over and over and over again. I was obsessed as a kid. If it does come back, what was the point of destroying and moving the ultimate characters of moving ultimate characters to Prime Marvel Earth? The whole point of it was essentially it wasn't even so much as moving ultimate characters to the Prime Marvel universe. The only ultimate character that really was worth a damn at that time when they decided to destroy the ultimate universe was Miles Morales, and that was part of the reason why they decided, you know what, we want to get Miles in. to the main 616 universe. He's a really popular character. He's really great. He's half black, half Hispanic. So that's a demographic right there. He's established. Let's move him over. I firmly believe that's the only reason they decided to destroy that universe. That was the only thing they had. That really was the only thing they had that was worth a damn in the Ultimate Universe, was Miles Morales. Everything else was like, yeah, everything can fuck off. Everything is pretty much garbage there. Is Scott Pilgrim black and white as good / better than color? Because it's a lot cheaper, and I'm considering getting it. If you can afford the color editions of Scott Pilgrim, by all means do. I was a fan of the black and white, and I will say that, when they announced the color editions, I was like, man, it's gonna lose something. But God, the coloring on those beautiful little hardcover editions is astounding. I personally, once I upgraded to the color editions, there was no going back. Like, I can't look at the black and white editions the same way anymore because the color really does pop. It really does add something to Scott Pilgrim. Now, there will always be purists out there that say, yeah, the black and white is always better because that was the original format. I personally think the colored editions are massively better and worth the upgrade. The most underrated present-day penciler / artist. Ooh, good question. Give me a second to think about that. You know what? Before he died, no, he was pretty popular among comic fans, just not in the mainstream. I was gonna say Darwin Cook, but he really got a lot of love from comic fans, just not in the mainstream appeal. I'm gonna say Marcos Martin. No, damn, that's a hard question because I'm running through the list of like all the artists in my head, and I'm gonna say Marcos Martin is really good. He's very underrated, I think. Can you talk about Lemire's Thanos? I almost never get excited about Marvel, but I'm half tempted to jump in on this one. I have not read, or I don't know much about Lemire's Thanos yet. I haven't been paying too much attention of it. Yeah, the color pop. The color really does pop in those Scott Pilgrim hardcover collections. Do you think we will get reprints of Annihilation Omnibus and Mighty Thor? I get this question about once a week. A reprint of Annihilation, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I don't know. I mean, we are getting the rest of the... Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? Not for next year. At least not for the first half of next year, because we know, guys, we know what omnibuses we're getting for the most part up until, Marvel-wise, we know what we're getting up until about May, June of next year. So that's half the year. Annihilation has not been solicited for a reprint yet, which is a damn shame because it's a great event. Now, I've said, I think what we're more than likely to get is that we are more than likely to get Ultimate Collections for Annihilation. An omnibus, probably not. I'm going to say no on it, but there are a lot of people that say that we will. I'm really surprised with the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out in May that we aren't getting an Annihilation reprint. But then again, we don't really Guardians of the Galaxy really doesn't form until Annihilation Conquest. Like the core Guardians of the Galaxy, that's when they start forming. Any writers you've become burnt out on lately? After Low, Deadly Class, and Tokyo Ghost, I just can't read anything else by Rick Remender. Really want to restart Free Agent, but I can't bring myself to do it. It happens. You get tired of a writer's certain style and a writer's certain quirks after a while, and I would just recommend find somebody else. Find another writer, and come back to it later. Come back to it when you've got more of a fresh perspective and a fresh take. That happened to me a few years ago when I was reading Brian Michael Bendis' Daredevil, and I was just consuming pretty much anything that Brian Michael Bendis had written at the time. And I started noticing, oh, great, Brian Michael Bendis, he's got these tropes. I started really picking up those things, and I started getting burned out on Bendis. So what I ended up doing was I finished Daredevil, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put everything else aside from Bendis. I'm going to read Brubaker. So I read Brubaker's Daredevil run, and I started reading a lot of Brubaker's back catalog. And that really was a bit of a palate cleanse. Because Brubaker has a very different style than Bendis. I think his dialogue is a lot better and it's a lot more sharp. Anything else is secondary? What comes? Thoughts on Miller and Jim Lee's All-Star Batman and Robin? Never read it, and I know it's not done. So, is there any other format for Chris Claremont's X-Men? Omnis are expensive. That would be something you should ask Riley. Riley's the X-Men guy. His knowledge on X-Men is insane. Like the guy pretty much is a walking encyclopedia of X-Men. That's something he would be able to help you out with, not me. My knowledge on the X-Men is very limited. Next year, a bunch of Spider-Man omnibuses are coming out. Should I get all of them or just a select few? Off the top of my head, the ones that I recommend, and I don't know all, I forgot all of them are coming out, but I know Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 3, yes. There's going to be another Michelini Spider-Man Omnibus that's getting printed. That's going to be a yes. Are we getting hardcovers of Akira? Yes, we are. We are getting hardcovers of Akira. They're coming out next year. I don't know the exact date of them, but the entire Akira is being collected in these beautiful little hardcover formats. I think it's retailing for about $250 or something like that, but you're getting everything in like pristine quality. I can't wait for that. Ooh, I'm getting chills. Old King Thor versus Hulk. Who wins? Remember who owned Galactus. I'm going to give it to Old King Thor. Old King Thor is a fucking goon. He is so badass. Could I see the Star Wars franchise surpassing the MCU in popularity throughout the next decade? Absolutely. I mean, in some aspects, Star Wars is a bigger property than the Marvel comics. Star Wars has been around since the 70s, and yeah, the content, with the 90s films dipped, but the popularity is there more than ever, I think, right now. What's your biggest fear? What's my biggest fear about Rogue One? My biggest fear about Rogue One was that originally it was supposed to be, if you are to believe the rumors, Rogue One, the original cut, the director's cut, before they went back and did reshoots, was a much, much, much darker film. It was really dark. However, apparently the rumor is that they went back and did reshoots to lighten the tone. My biggest fear is that they try to incorporate the Marvel formula where they throw in comedy bits here and there into the film and it's shoehorned in and it doesn't work. Because I'm fully expecting, honestly, I'm fully expecting going into Rogue One with almost none of the characters making it out of that film alive. I'm fully expecting a bit of a tearjerker ending of that where, yeah, they won, but pretty much everybody is fucking dead in the film. That's what I'm expecting going into it, and I'm really hope that the Marvel influence didn't get pushed onto the Rogue One film where they're like, yeah, it's a bit too dark, we got to lighten it up a little bit, for the kids and things like that. No, I want a dark Star Wars film. This universe lends to it. There are pockets of the Star Wars universe that are really dark. People don't remember this. The second Star Wars film was a downer. It ended on a downer. Episode 5, it was a downer. It was not a happy ending. Ooh. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back. That was one. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back was a depressing ending, man. Well, yeah, I mean, the director's going to say, oh, yeah, we always knew there would be reshoots because there always are reshoots when they do movies. But also, he wants to keep his fucking job. So he's not going to say, yeah, oh, fuck Disney. I mean, they made us lighten the tone of the movie. He's not going to come out and say it, but those are the rumors. My favorite Star Wars movie is Empire. Wow. Is that true? The composer only had 4 weeks to complete Rogue One. Wow, that sucks. That really does suck. Am I planning to do a video on Vinland Saga? It is really good. I am planning to do a video on Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga will probably be in 3 weeks because I have a schedule of how I'm going to do it. For those of you that are wondering, Manga Mondays this week will be Assassination High School. That's going to be the manga that I review this week. I know a lot of you guys are really enjoying the manga stuff. I'm tired of the new movie cuts, and extended versions are the better movie. No, they're not. Not always the case. Not extended versions are not always the better film. Sometimes they're actually the worst. Vinland. Oh yeah, not Violent. Oh shit, I'm fucked that up. Vinland Saga. Wow, I completely read that wrong. Have I been reading Star Wars Marvel comics? I know. No. I'm waiting for everything to get collected. I'm waiting for this first full batch of runs with like Star Wars, Darth Vader, and all that stuff to get collected in omnibuses, and then I will jump in and read it. Was he the same guy that did the Doctor Strange score? Because the Doctor Strange score wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible by all means, but it was pretty forgettable. There wasn't anything like, even looking back on it now, I can't really recall too much of anything on the Doctor Strange soundtrack. But I was like, oh yeah, that was really good. Ooh. If you had a superhero as your friend, who would it be? Hellboy. Hellboy, because he's passive aggressive. And he's just like, yeah, okay, yeah. He's got a real deadpan attitude, kind of like me. You haven't seen Doctor Strange yet. Doctor Strange is really good. It is really good. I won't spoil it here. Um, I don't know, but people have asked me what's my thoughts on Doctor Strange. I was kind of waiting for everybody to see it on the live stream for Thursdays, but I don't know if Riley has seen it or Jess has. So that's part of the reason why we haven't done a show on it. Off the top of my head, I mean, I know a lot of you guys are crazy about numbers. I'd give it like about an 8.5. I thought it was a solid film overall. Doom, 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 doom. Favorite comic moment of all time, man. There are so many great moments. There was when Thanos went up against Captain America, and Captain America basically said, "Look, I know I'm gonna die, but as long as there's one of us fighting against you, there's still a chance." Oh, so great, such a great moment. Then there's the classic Brian Michael Bendis Daredevil moment where Daredevil straps Kingpin to the hood of the car, flies the car through a bar full of thugs, walks into the bar and says, "You see this fat piece of shit that's strapped on the hood of my car? He's done. I'm the kingpin now of Hell's Kitchen. Get the fuck out of my city." Which was then followed by one of the biggest war on crimes where crime went down by like 20% in New York after that. And Spider-Man had to come up. Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and I forgot who else had to, and I think it was Tony Stark, had to come up to Daredevil and go, "Dude, you need to calm the fuck down. You are losing it." Oh, so great. Such a great moment. Another one of my favorite moments, man, I'm just going through a whole bunch of them. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run, where Green Arrow actually puts on the power ring, and he summons up enough willpower to just push it back and then shoots an arrow out of it, and at the same time simultaneously pretty much breaking his arm. Oh my god, incredible moment. It was so badass. Hi, from Denmark. Wow. Thoughts on Brian Michael Bendis' run of Guardians of the Galaxy? Avoid it like the plague. I have mixed feelings on Sean Murphy's direct art sales, which he pushes on his Twitter. It's his right and makes business sense, but the artist slash salesman combo kills a pinch of the romance. Um, I do see your perspective. I really do. But and I really am not arguing with you on this. But what I think is that you also have to realize a lot of these guys don't have health insurance. A lot of these guys are paid by the page. A lot of these guys, if they get sick or if they get injured, they don't have days off. They have to crank out content like you and I. If we get sick, if we get injured, we could take a few days off of work and we have, medical leave and all this stuff. They don't have that. They don't have some of the luxuries that we do. These guys are paid by the page. So I do see his perspective on selling things on his Twitter and selling his art on his Twitter. He has every single right to do that. The man has put in a shit ton of work into the content that he is selling. So in that sense, yeah, I get where he's coming from, and I understand that he has every single right to sell the art that he has. And he's a popular artist. More artists demand more money. I think it was a few years ago, before Scotty Young is what Scotty Young is now, where he was doing con sketches and really nice, beautiful little con sketches and really nice commissions for probably about $200. Scotty Young now, I don't know what his prices are, but I can guarantee you con commissions for Scotty Young are not $200 anymore, especially not watercolor. Watercolor back then commissions were probably about $300, $400. Now, again, I don't know what his commissions are, but I can guarantee you they're probably not that much. So as artists get popular, they tend to sell their art for a higher cost. I understand where it does kind of kill the mystique, but at the same time, these guys, they are in a business. They have to support their families. They have to pay rent. They have to pay their houses, things like that. So I do understand why he's doing it, and I support him. I think he has every single right to do that, and good for him if people buy it. From Norway, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I want to move to Norway. We're looking into that actually in a while. Which superhero has the best comics? Daredevil. I think Daredevil does. Have I been reading the newest Jessica Jones comic? No, I haven't. I know it takes it back to before she was what she is now, which is pretty much before she was a mom and all this other stuff. So I haven't been paying too much attention to it. What I've heard is that it's classic Bendis, for better or worse, but the characters evolved since then. The characters moved past all that shit that she went through. She's a mom now. Yeah, yeah, we seriously are considering moving to Norway. We want to get the hell out of the United States. Different perspective. Should I get the Mugolini McFarlane Spider-Man Omnibus for $250, or might be rented? Dude, do not spend $250 for that. No. No. You can find those. They don't pop up like every week in the Omnibus group, but you can find them in the Omnibus group. People post them up almost. I see at least 2 a month every single time in the Omnibus Facebook group, and they go for like $100 to $110. Don't pay that much. Stay the fuck away from that. No, $250 for that, and the content isn't even like amazing. No. Spider-Man's run by Michelini any good? It is. It is, but the content isn't worth $250. It's definitely not worth that much. Stay away from that. Find me a copy of Uncanny X-Force for that price. Um, Uncanny X-Force, somebody got like this deal of the year in the Omnibus group like 2 weeks ago, where he traded Absolute Y the Last Man and Absolute Preacher, a sealed Absolute Preacher, for Uncanny X-Force. I was like, wow, really good deal. Like he really lucked out on that. 2 readily available and imprint books, one of which is Absolute Y the Last Man, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst absolutes that's out there. And he got Uncanny X-Force for it. Ugh, incredible. I'm not from the USA, and I'm not in the Omnibus group. Do they only ship to America? No, they have people. They have people that are from all over the world in that group. Besides comics and manga, what books do you read? I'm a fan of fantasy, like Stephen King, classics like Huck Finn, and some works of Plato and Aristotle. Ooh, very intelligent, my man. Ooh, let me think. I'm a fan of classic history, and oh my God, what's the name of that book that I've been in love with? About the Chicago World's Fair. That's a book. Oh my God, I'm blanking on it. Ooh, The Devil in the White City. If you guys are looking for a great classic history book that is readily accessible, The Devil in the White City is really good. It's about the first murderers in the Chicago World's Fair. Brilliant book. Brilliant story. I'm a fan of that stuff. That's really good. Chuck Palahniuk is good. Ooh, Rob McCarthy. I think that's his name. The one that wrote The Road. He's really good. He's probably the greatest American author we have today. Cormac McCarthy. That's it. Yeah, Cormac McCarthy. He's probably the greatest American author, in my opinion, that we have today. Brilliant writer. Brilliant writer. The Devil in the White City? Yeah, sure. I'll post it in the group. Da, 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 da. It's an absolutely brilliant history book. There's The Devil in the White City. My first comic that I've ever owned, man, you're taking me way back. I think it was like a Sonic the Hedgehog comic when I was a kid, you know? Okay, guys, 5 more minutes because I got to get some work done. Oh, can I post a link to the Omnibus group? Hold on. Just just look in Facebook, the Omnibus Collectors group, and you should be able to find it. Hold on. I'm gonna have to really start getting a direct link from Riley on these things. Yeah, just look the Omnibus Collectors. Hold on. Ah, Riley. The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community. Look that up on Facebook and you should be able to find it. Have I read any Witcher comics? I love the game and read some books, but I'm hesitant on the comics. I have not read the Witcher comic. Uh, Piotr, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Contact Riley, message him directly, or message Jess, and they'll be able to get you in the group. Chances are, if you've been rejected in the group, it's because they have a very strict policy and they review your page very, very discreetly and make sure it's not a fake account or not a troll account, because they've had that happen before. So contact either Riley or Jess and see if they can help you out, because I'm not an admin. I'm not a mod in the group. I'm just a regular member. But they should be able to get you in. Ooh. Ooh, have I read Berserk or Gantz? I have not. I haven't read Berserk or Gantz. I'm just diving my foot really seriously into manga right now. Like I said, I went out this past week for Black Friday, and I ended up getting like 3 volumes of Tokyo Ghoul. Ooh, I just got chills. Oh, man. Can I do a video of best comics of all time? That's very difficult. I couldn't do that. Simply because everybody's best of is it's opinionated, and my best of is probably completely different than yours. For example, my favorite comic of all time is Preacher. Not a lot of people would agree with me that Preacher is the best comic of all time. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. This has been fun, but I got to get to work. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff under Hardcover Reviews. Twitter under Hardcover Review. Please follow me there. If you want to keep this channel alive, keep supporting it, love my content, all that good stuff, Patreon, I'm putting that in the chat, is found right there. For as little as $1 a month, you get exclusive content and all that good stuff. And with the holiday seasons coming around, all the money is appreciated. Thank you very much. Love you guys, and I wish you all a great week. Look out for some of my other contents. I'm going to be putting out a lot of stuff this week. This past week was Thanksgiving week, and I was spending a lot of time with family, so hence the reason why there wasn't a lot going on, but it will happen. So, love you guys.